All right, the job hunt. So randomly, I'd say this was probably in October. I got my first message on LinkedIn from a recruiter. Um, they had, I think it was like a testing position. It was in Java, like nothing that I had learned, not even the tech stack that I was familiar with. I just remember being so excited that like somebody reached out to me. Um, it ended up not being a role I was interested in, but like that kind of like is where it all started. Basically, I remember he asked me to send him a copy of my resume and my portfolio, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't have a resume. I hadn't made a portfolio yet. Um, for whatever reason, like I procrastinated making a portfolio. So like I made one in a hurry, and at the time, I think I had I think it was like that library book project, which is just a basic like CRUD app with vanilla JavaScript. Did I even have the talk? I don't even think I had the talk to do on there yet. And the Visions of Hope website, I think that was on there. That was pretty much it. My resume at the time was bare. It was only one page. I know when I started my journey, I saw a lot of the content creators saying, don't call yourself an aspiring developer. Don't mention that you're self-taught. Basically, like, they didn't necessarily tell you to lie, but like, I feel like it was like low key, like setting yourself up for some imposter syndrome to happen. But yeah, when I sent that resume to him, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just apply. I'm going to send in one application and just see what happens. So because I had spent like a couple hours like making a resume in a rush and putting together a portfolio, it was one company that like, this was even before I quit my job. I had my eye on as a local company. So I just shot my shot, sent applications to see what happened. I had no intention of actually getting the job at all, even getting a call back. And sure enough, probably a week later, I got the auto rejection email. But yeah, I'd say after that, I don't think I sent out any more applications. I just went back to my, regularly scheduled routine, learning and building, basically. And then I'd say, November, I decided to send out a few more applications. I had signed up for automatic job alerts for Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and Dice. I feel like I'm missing another one. But anyway, so every day in my inbox, I'd probably get like 10 emails collectively with jobs that quote unquote matched my criteria, which the majority of them didn't match my criteria, but that's besides the point. I targeted front-end web developer, because I knew I wanted to be work with the front end. And of course, I was targeting junior roles. So for the most part, all the jobs that I ended up applying for were junior something. A couple jobs showed up, like when I typed in junior, they may not have had in the title, but like the years of experience were kind of low. So I just kind of tried anyway. I think the next call I had was another one from LinkedIn. I want to say another recruiter reached out to me. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was LinkedIn. I can't remember if it was a job that I had applied for on LinkedIn or if they reached out to me first. I just know I got a message from a recruiter and then we ended up having a phone call. I don't think anything happened after the phone call. That seemed to be like the trend at the time. I'd get a message from a recruiter. I'd get the first phone call, and then that would be as far as I would get. I didn't focus on applying for jobs initially. In my mind, I pretty much figured out that just HTML, CSS, vanilla JavaScript wouldn't like put me in the top applicant category. So I pretty much didn't even worry about applying until I started learning React. So once I finished the CV Builder project, this was December, I think, the beginning of December. Yeah, I think December was when I finished that project. Then I started, to take applying more seriously, just because I felt like at that point a job would take me more seriously. So yeah, I'd apply on Indeed, I apply on LinkedIn. Some things I would go directly to the company's website. Matter of fact, hold that thought. All right. So just for some stats, mind you, I did not keep track of how many job applications I did. Initially, I had a spreadsheet, and in a perfect world, I was going to like keep track of the job, the link to the website, all that. I maybe did that for like the first 5 jobs, and that was it. So looking back, I just looked back today in my history. LinkedIn, I sent in 13 applications. Indeed, I sent in 15. Angel List, I didn't actually go back to the website, but that wasn't all that long ago. I think I submitted like 3 to 5 applications. Then the rest were directly on a company's website or like a recruiter asking me for my resume. Collectively, it was low compared to like I see people apply to 500 jobs. Sorry, my music started playing randomly. But yeah, I did not mass apply. I was pretty meticulous when it came to job postings. In the beginning, don't get me wrong, I did mass apply because I didn't know any better. But the more I talked to recruiters, I don't know, just the more confident I got. I started to cherry pick, I guess. So I guess I started to narrow down and realize what I wanted in a role and what I didn't want. As you know, a lot of job descriptions will have junior in the title, but the job description is nothing remotely junior about it. So my strategy is, if the job description and the job title didn't align, a lot of people say apply anyway, but in my mind, I took the disconnect as red flaggish almost, because if you didn't take the time to make sure your job description was accurate or reflected what you wanted, what else do you cut corners with? This may be my previous job coming into play. I focus on human behavior, so I tend to read between the lines for something. So yeah, like I said, posting like that, I did shoot my shot for a couple of them, especially in the beginning, but towards the end, I just brushed those off. Jobs that had I saw some junior jobs 5 to 10 years, definitely brushed those off. Frankly, some job postings just didn't really sound very interesting. I knew I wanted a job that was, fun, a good place to work. So if it sounded like it was going to be boring, and not really a good time, too formal, I also didn't apply. All right. So after, I call it my reset, I guess. I got back on the horse, as they call it. And I picked back up my Udemy course, my React Udemy course. And, I went through those tutorials. And then I also went back to the Odin project, and I think you had to make a to-do list in React and something else you had to make. The CV builder. Then I got to the shopping cart project, and I had always said that one of my goals was to have an e-commerce project on my portfolio. And so, excuse me, I was really excited about that project. So I got to a point in my Udemy course that I was like, you know what, I can start building this. So that's where first and third came about. Like, I knew I wanted to make an e-commerce store. So I want to say, like, gosh, the beginning of February, the middle of February, sometime in February, I got the idea to start that project. I started with the hero section. Like, I literally start piece by piece by piece. And I'd add a video to my playlist, I'd post a video on Twitter, LinkedIn, and everything else. And something about that project, like, because it grew to be such a big project, and like it covered a lot, like it checked a lot of boxes when it came to React, I was like, you know what, like it's game time. So at that point, that's when I sent the most applications between February and March, or February and February and March, for sure. Because I have React on there, and not only did I have one React project, I had two at this point. And like the e-commerce project, like I said, I was super proud of that project. I know I said that 100 times, but I really was. So I decided to apply for jobs even before that project was finished. I just put it on my portfolio in progress. I listed it on my resume as in progress. I still had the description. So like you could still see my thought process though. And enough of the project was done that like you could see the direction I was going. So I can't even tell you how many applications I sent out in that time, but the bulk of my applications came out then. And I'd say I was the most proud of those applications. So I was very critical of myself. One thing I learned is in the beginning, I was a little too confident. Like I knew my first application was going to be rejected. However, like I severely underestimated just how many other people are junior developers out there searching for their first role. So like you have to realize an interview, like the purpose of the interview is like for you to prove that they should hire you. But for the company, the purpose of the interview is to weed out the candidates and narrow it down to who they actually want to hire. So I keep that in mind. And like at the time, like I really had to take a step back. And another thing, like I said, I watched a lot of portfolio reviews, and like that really showed you like kind of where other applicants were, like what kind of project did they have. And so like I know they say don't compare yourself to people, don't compare your journey to people, which is absolutely true, but you do have to be realistic. Like don't be naive. You will be up against people with some pretty amazing projects. So if you want to stand a chance, you also should come up with some pretty amazing projects. Mind you, projects aren't everything, but in a way they could be a first impression. So like a lot of people say like to-do lists, which I know I feel like a hypocrite. However, my to-do list was different. That's the only reason I kept it. I thought about taking that off so many times, but I just thought it was so cool. Like I just refused to take it off. But like I made a weather app, but it was never in my portfolio. That after that first application, that library project was never in my portfolio. Like the basic like intro to JavaScript, intro to React projects, like I never put them on my portfolio because look how many people took that same course as you and have that same project. And like realistically, is that an impressive project? It's cool to you, but like to a job, like it's pretty low on the totem pole. So like I had to humble myself and like realize like I have to portray the best version of myself. The whole point. I realized the audio kind of got scrambled a little bit at the end. But yeah, you have to be critical of your portfolio, be honest, like with the capital H, humble yourself, and really look at your portfolio with scrutiny. Like, okay, if I have 200 applicants and an employer sees my portfolio, do I honestly think that these projects on my portfolio will put me in the top 50, top 40, top 30, top 10, top 5. If no, then maybe you need to go back to the drawing board, or like at least like keep going, keep learning. Like they always say apply when you're not ready, which is true, because a lot of people, like again, paralysis by analysis, like overthink it to the point that they never do anything. They, try to get it perfect from the jump, and that's just not how it works. But at the same time, be realistic with your expectations. You can apply early, but just know, like, if the best project on your portfolio is a to-do list, be prepared. You're going to be up against someone with the Amazon clone. Or I don't know, some other React or something made with the framework. So like, you really got to put your best foot forward. Like, it's highly competitive. I don't know if you paid attention, but I remember looking at job postings on LinkedIn. Like, the job had literally just been posted like 2 hours ago. It had 200 applicants already, and it probably was going to be up there for a couple of days. So I can only imagine how many applicants were up there when the posting closed. Another example, look up the 100 Days of Code hashtag on Twitter. Look how many people show up. Like, that's your competition. People that you don't even think of. Like, it's an enormous amount of people all going for the same role. So, like, I feel like when it comes to applying, people forget that. They're like, man, I sent in 500 applications. Well, it's literally 1 million people learning to code. Like, you're like, why are you surprised? Like, it's going to take a while, because not only do you have to be the top applicant, like sometimes it's 400 people going for one position. So that means like you had to like outshine everyone else. Like, that's a tall order. So, but yeah, all in all, be realistic in your expectations, and also make sure that your expectations follow your actions. Like, there are going to be people who give it 150%. Like, they're determined to do it. They're a real go-getter. Like, they know what they want, and like, they're determined to get it, basically. There's some people who learning to code is like, it'd be nice if I got it. Like, I'm a part-time coder, something like that. So you're putting part-time effort, you're probably going to get part-time results. A person putting full-time effort in are more likely to get full-time results. So like, make sure everything is in line. I see a lot of posts, people giving the stats, like, I sent out 500 job applications, I got 400 rejections. And like, ask yourself, like, did I leave anything to be desired? Did I leave anything on the table? Like, did you put a cover letter with your application? Some people, it's debatable as to if that's needed or not. Me personally, every application that asks for a cover letter, you bet you I added one. And my story was in there. Like, self-taught developer, here's where I started. Like, I came full circle. What else? But yeah, basically, so I lost my train of thought, but be realistic. Like, that's the main thing. Be realistic in your expectations. Like, are you really doing everything you can to sell yourself? Like, that reminds me. Another thing, a lot of job applications, I noticed they ask for your Twitter, they ask for your LinkedIn. They're asking for these things for a reason. If you think about it, everyone has a portfolio, everyone sends a resume. If we're all around the same level, around the same experience, around the same skill level, our products are probably going to be the same. Our resume is probably going to be the same. They have to come up with another way to narrow down the applicant pool. And I think maybe they look at your LinkedIn, they look at your Twitter. Do you talk about tech? Like, are you passionate about tech? So like, there's other things besides coding. And like, people hyper focus on just the coding, that like the interview, your coding is like down the line. Your initial interviews are social skills only for the most part. Sorry, I went on a tangent. Interviews is the next section. So roll it back a bit. Back to the job hunt. Like I said, from February to March, that's when the bulk of my job applications were sent out. And at that point, when I sent a job application out, if someone did reach out to me, I got a little further. And I'd always said in the beginning, like, I hope that when I do start getting interviews, that each step of the way, I get one step further in the next one step further. And for the most part, that's what happened. I remember one interview that I had. It was for a startup, and that made me like look at. I guess made me really reassess the type of role that I wanted. Just like learning more about the company, I realized that I probably didn't want to work for a startup necessarily, because at this specific organization, I would have been the only web developer. And for someone learning, that's not a good idea, just because if you get stuck, there's no one to ask. Like, it's just you. So I narrowed it down. I didn't want to work at a startup. And I'd already said earlier, I didn't want to work at a super huge company either. Because like in my eyes, bigger companies tend to work more on maintaining something. Like, take, for example, a thing. Like Google, for example, like there's people out there where their role is just to maintain Gmail. To be honest, that didn't really sound that exciting. So like I didn't target those type of companies. I figured out that a agency was more my speed. Like I wanted something that the projects were large enough, but not so large that you didn't have the opportunity to work on a variety of projects. Like I kind of like the idea of starting from scratch and like just seeing an idea come to life, just because like my personal projects, like I saw them all come to life from beginning to end. So I narrowed that down. So now at this point, the jobs that I'm focusing are even smaller, like an even smaller window, because now I'm just targeting agencies. And I realized I most certainly wanted a remote role. So I was like, no question. Around this time, I was on Twitter, I remember, and it was a thread somebody posted, like, who actually hires junior developers? Like, I know some people say, like, people don't actually hire junior developers. Like, I see the postings, but no one gets hired. And so I read the thread, and people, like, were plugging in their job postings, their links to their website, and two things struck out. The company that gave me an offer, one of their directors, like, had a very detailed thread, and like this stood out above the rest because like I remember it saying like we have a very humane process, and like her comment was like a thread of like 4 tweets combined together. She showed you, it's very transparent, showed you like the job application, links to the job application, what else, their hiring process, and any like other information that you could want, just to get an idea about the company. And I also I saw a apprenticeship, and I happened to click on it, and I was like, wow, like they were literally in my city. And like, I had never heard of this company whatsoever. The thought never even crossed my mind to think to look for apprenticeships. I knew internships were usually unpaid, and I pretty much ruled those out. And for the most part, I always thought internships were for those who were fresh out of college or still in college. But yeah, so I looked into the apprenticeship. Back it up. Sorry. Township, the company that hired me. I clicked on the link, and the job posting was interesting. So when you click on apply, it had like the COVID warning saying that they weren't hiring at the time, but you could give your email address, and they would send you an email whenever the posting did open back up. So of course I did that. So in the meantime, like I looked into the apprenticeship, and I reached out to the lady who posted about it, and we talked a little bit in DMs, and then she set it up for me to have a Zoom call with one of the staff members. And so, long story short, so I went through the steps of you had to send an application, and then they have an interview process. So I went through that process. I was told that I seemed like I'd be a good candidate, and hopefully I'd hear from them soon. So again, I was kind of like in limbo. So I had a decision. I was like, okay, like this could be something, but this could also turn out to be a dead end. And like, I wasn't ready to just stop there. So I kept on looking. I'm a firm believer, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Especially when you don't have, like, until I had an offer letter in my hand, I still was unemployed as far as I'm concerned. So I kept looking for roles. Actually kept looking for apprenticeships at the time, just because so far getting directly employed or a full-time job, so far I hadn't got any, I hadn't made it all the way to the end. I'd make it halfway, then get ghosted or what have you. I wouldn't even get past the initial recruiter call. But yeah, so I actually found, and I didn't realize, there is a lot of apprenticeships. I know like Microsoft has an apprenticeship, LinkedIn, like other big name companies, but like there's also smaller companies that aren't well known, like, but they exist. And like I said, I had no idea the local company was an apprenticeship. Like, they literally hire like 100 they wanted to hire like 100 apprenticeships at the time or something like that. But yeah, so I started looking for apprenticeships, and anyone I found, I sent in an application. I want to say I was still working on first and third. I was getting close to being done though. Another thing I came across was the Collab Lab. I literally turned my application in like at the last minute, because it said you had to have 1 or 2 React projects made in React, like on your GitHub. I had the CV builder, which was like on the basic side of React, and then first and third still wasn't done. I wanted to be complete, but like it got down to the last day and I still wasn't done because like I said, I had got stuck on something for like a week. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply anyway. And so I applied anyway. And like the next day, I got the congrats, like you're in email. And I was like, oh, wow. So that wasn't going to start until April the 3rd. So like the way I saw it, like I kept going because the way I saw it, I had backup plans. Like ideally I had been kind of offered the apprenticeship. I hadn't signed any papers, so it wasn't final. And then I had gotten into Collab Lab. So I'm like, okay, if I don't get a job right now, a full-time job right now, at least I have the apprenticeship. And then there's Collab Lab. Now, Collab Lab, for those that don't know, is a 8-week long remote group project. The whole purpose of the project is for people from underrepresented backgrounds, self-taught and boot camp, people who didn't really get that group project experience. I know me personally, I'm self-taught, so like I have never worked with anyone else. Didn't even know what a pull request was until I started Collab Lab. So, but yeah, so it's not to teach you React. Like that's why they have like a baseline where all candidates should be at this level. It is competitive to get into it. I want to say I saw the posting 200 applicants and only 20 got selected. So keep that in mind. But the good thing about it, they do it every quarter. So if you don't get this cohort, try again in like 2 months. Like the next one will come up in July. I think the application process will be June, if I'm not mistaken. Look on their website to be sure, but I think that's how it goes. But yeah, and my thought process with Collab Lab was, okay, this can only help me. As a self-taught developer, I felt like I could only take myself so far. Like the agile process, group collaboration, working remotely with others, like I couldn't teach myself that. Like I need someone else like to be in a group with. So I was like, this is perfect. So the way I saw it, like I tried to set myself up with as much things as possible that would make me a better applicant. Because I knew out the gate, I'm self-taught. I do not have a CS degree. My degree is non-technical. And I'm a career switcher on top of that. So like the odds are against me, like out the gate. So I had to think of other ways to add me, I guess, to the get me closer to being in the top applicants brackets, basically. So yeah, that was like my plan A, my plan B. I kept looking. Around the beginning of March, I want to say I checked my email one day and I got an email. It was from Township and it said, the job posting is up. And like, I was like, man, like I really want this first and third project to be done. When I apply, like at this point, I realized like when I apply, like I'm trying to give them the best version of myself. So like right now that project's not finished. So let me finish it. And that was my intention. However, like I think I ran into another bug or something that like took more time than I expected. And a couple days had gone by and I was like, you know what? I don't know how long this posting is going to be up. It didn't have like an open close date that I can remember. So I was like, well, look, I'm going to shoot my shot anyway, because I would hate to find out the job window closed again. And I didn't even apply. So I rearranged my resume. I put first and third up top. I had added more things since I think the last time I updated my resume. So I updated the description. I also reordered, I think, again, the projects, which the final structure that I showed you in my portfolio, that's when I gave them that order. I made sure like I polished my README as I went. And yeah, I just sent in the application. This was like Monday night. And if I'm not mistaken, the next morning I got an email saying, hey, can we set up a Zoom call? So I was like, sure, of course. So that pretty much started the process. I think it was like 6 steps in the process. I won't get into detail, like there's a whole gray area, like how much can you say about jobs, but like from my experience, you know what? Hold that thought. Now I'm going to flip to the interview section. So hold that thought.